The story begins in a magical world shared by 9 races: dragonutes, elves, honest dwarves, demons, dark elves, centaurs, beast folk, and humans, from whom a young adventurer called Light was born, wanting to give his family a better life. Light says goodbye to his hometown and leaves to explore for money and power after reaching a big city. Light gets shoved around by the crowd, but continues searching for the Adventurers Guild. He enters the guild and introduces himself to the receptionist, who asks if he wants to register as a fresh adventurer. As he nods, she explains that he'll start from the lowest F rank and asks if he has a special ability. Light says that he has an Unlimited Gacha ability, which allows him to roll for random cards and summon them after he summons a broken fork in front of her. The receptionist is left speechless, embarrassed. Light tries acting like silverware isn't the only thing he can summon, but his next rolls just give him a bunch of rotten snacks. Light is disappointed that his luck decided to betray him at the worst moment, and the receptionist confirms that he deserves the pathetic F rank. After receiving his adventurous card, he asks her for some quests, and she tells him to search on the guild's job board. At the mention of job posts, Light feels awkward, and the receptionist realizes that he can't read the board, feeling sad for her uneducated fellow human. She reads out the job posts for him, feeling excited to earn some real money. Light happily accepts the boring tasks. After a day of hard work, he finally gets enough money to rent a room. However, a gang of beast folk knocks him down and starts bullying him as their leader picks up his money. Light begs him to have mercy on him, but the cool wolfman knocks him back with a hard uppercut. The wolfman taunts Light for begging for spare change and coldly leaves with his laughing gang. Even the crowd ignores Light while he's on the ground, until a kind elf helps him up. Light gets surprised by all the adventurers surrounding him, and he backs down in shock seeing how frightened he is. The elf hugs Light to comfort him, while the passerbys mock her as Light is shocked that a pretty elf got dirty for his sake. She helps him stand up. The adventurers introduce themselves as members of the Conquered of Tribes. A beastman named Garo explains that each member represents one of the 9 races, and the elf introduces herself as Sasha. She introduces Drago, Diablo, Abero, Nanocion, and Santor, completing 8 of the 9 races. Light learns that the Concord is searching for a human race to show the unity of all people in their world. As Garo reaches out his hand to invite him, Light feels stunned that someone needs his help, then happily accepting his invitation. Soon, Light starts exploring a cave dungeon called the Abyss. With his new group, a huge worm beast tries to attack him, but Guru chops it apart before it can hurt Light. Another worm sneaks up on Light from behind, so Sasha takes it down with her bow. She scolds Light for being so careless, reminding him that they're exploring the world's most dangerous dungeon. Sasha warns him that he could die easily in this place. She sits down and takes care of his wounds, noticing her acting like his mommy. The other party members start teasing Sasha for spoiling Light so much, while blushing like a tomato. Sasha acts like she totally doesn't love Light and claims that she's just trying to protect a fellow group member as the party members ignore her weak excuse. Sasha gets more defensive, however. Drago steps in and cheers up Light, saying that he makes excellent tea for their team. With his motivation, the group heads deeper into the dungeon. As the group stops at a dead end, Drago stops them. Light thinks they're going to take a break, so he starts preparing some tea for them. However, Drago tells him that they don't need the tea since they're kicking Light out of their party. Light thinks it's some kind of prank, but Drago harshly repeats his words as Light remains stunned. Garo also tells him that he's out, so Light asks him why they're dumping him. Garo tells Light that their group doesn't need him, and Sasha feels disgusted by his foolishness. Even Sion and Nano start mocking Light for being so pathetic. While the demons are relieved that they can finally get rid of him, Light asks why they're being so cruel to him after all the kindness they showed him earlier. Goro reveals that they were just faking their kindness to make him join their party. Light wonders why their powerful party needed him, and Drago says that it's because of his special ability. He explains that they recruited Light in hopes that he'd be an overpowered maestro, but his ability is just too trash. Light points out that his Unlimited Gacha ability was never useful, and Goro agrees with him. He mocks Light for being a talentless human, so his party doesn't need his dead weight anymore, knowing he was a failure all alone. Sion wonders why it took her friends so long to dump him. Meanwhile, Sasha feels relieved that she can marry her master instead of ending up with the pathetic human kid as Light feels overwhelmed by this shocking information. Drago decides to finish the job with him after he tells Garou to clean up. Light, he finally realizes the danger he's in watching their hostile stares. Light learns that his party will finish him to avoid him getting stronger later and trying to take revenge. Garou draws his claws and swipes at Light's cheek, who looks at the blood flowing from the cut as the party members coldly looks on. Light runs away screaming. Garou tells him that the Abyss monsters will have him for brunch. However, Sasha shoots an arrow at his leg to prevent him from escaping, struggling in pain. Light collapses from the hit, and Garou takes pleasure in his suffering. He steps up and kicks Light hard in the stomach, knocking him down again. He starts beating the crap out of Light, but Sasha stops him. She reminds him that they need to make Light's disappearance look like an accident. So Garou raises his claw for a final strike. Seeing his end approaching, Light crawls on the ground, wanting to continue living. Garou feels excited to watch him struggle so hard as the weak boy tries to survive in the face of certain death. Suddenly, Light's hand presses on a teleportation trap, and Drago tells Garou to end HIM before it activates. However, it safely teleports Light away before the beastmen can reach him. Afterward, Light wakes up elsewhere in the dungeon, still suffering from heavy injuries. He thinks that any random monster will eat him, even if he survives a bit longer. As the harsh chill of the cave reminds Light of his loving family, he starts crying. Light recalls how kind the Conquered was after their first meeting, and wonders why they turned out so cruel, thinking about their cold expressions after taking him to the dead end. Light feels angered by their betrayal. He feels confused by the powerful masters and Conquered's higher-ups, wondering how he got involved with such crazy people. His confusion turns into fury as he vows revenge. Light gets up, determined to cut down all of them, but feels a cold gaze staring at his back. He turns around and sees a level 1 thing, Orthai's beast stalking him. Light wonders what such a broken monster is doing here, and realizes that the trap teleported him to the deepest level of the abyss. As the Orthais approaches him, Light thinks about an escape. He starts desperately spamming his Unlimited Gacha ability, praying to get a miracle. With a final frantic press, Light summons a huge magic circle. He stares in disbelief as the Gacha device releases a powerful aura, summoning an ancient fairy recognizing Light as her master. The mysterious fairy chops up the monster like an onion. The monster's shattered remains fall down, and the fairy lands gracefully to the ground in front of Light's shocked eyes. She clears up the mess with a flick of her hands before turning around. The fairy walks towards Light and humbly kneels down before healing all his wounds with magic. She apologizes to Light for healing him without permission, since she couldn't bear seeing him injured. Light introduces himself, feeling disbelief that he just rolled the most overpowered fairy in the world. The fairy falls in love with his name and starts repeating it before swearing her complete loyalty to him. Not knowing her identity, Light awkwardly asks for her name, so she reveals that she's the level 9999 ever-seeking maid called May. May explains that she's a super, ultra-rare card from Light's gacha. Light says that the gacha only produces junk, thinking there's no way he pulled a powerful baddie like her. May thinks he completely deserves her and begs her to accept him. Seeing her pitiful face, Light finally agrees, and May thanks him for his favor. She then asks Light to examine his gacha ability, and he feels surprised that she has the appraisal skill. May tells him that it's just one of her abilities before asking for his permission again. Once Light agrees, May's eye starts glowing as she examines him, seeing that the gacha provides him with layers of secret protection. May feels impressed by his powerful ability. She explains that the gacha seemed useless because Light was previously in areas with no mana. However, in the supercharged abyss, the gacha absorbed the mana around him and boosted his chances of getting a rare card. She explains all the Unlimited Gacha card ranks from the highest extra rank and super ultra rare down to normal and error. Light still doesn't understand, so May tells him that on the surface, he could never get any good pulls because of the scarce mana around them. She praises Light for figuring out the gacha's power and entering the abyss to boost his chances of a rare pull. However, May notes that it was incredibly dangerous for him to venture out on his own, and he points out that she's wrong. Light reveals that he entered the abyss with his party, but they betrayed him and tortured his body thinking about their cruel abuse and taunting. He starts crying while telling May about his story. Light recalls how his old group mocked him for being a pathetic human. He complains about their cruel taunts, saying he was just trying to earn an honest living for his family. May watches as he vents his feelings, completely devastated by the party's brutal betrayal. Finally, Light falls on his knees from the pain, saying that he'll never forgive the cruel beasts for hurting him. He climbs, pushes the arrow from his leg while shedding tears, and May silently hugs him in her warm embrace. Light calms down and stops crying. May tells him that she can never understand the depths of his suffering, but she'll use all her power to give the conquered their deserved retribution. As Light looks at her in shock, May swears to have all of them lined up in front of him in an instant as he stops her and gets up. May thinks that he's being too kind for his own good. She tells him not to be so merciful, but Light tells her that he ended up in this situation because of his own weakness. He tells May that he doesn't want to abuse her power for revenge, vowing to get stronger and punish the conquered with his own two hands. Light thinks that May won't believe his unrealistic fantasies, but she promises to support his goal with zero hesitation. After May tells him that she has complete faith in his abilities, Light smiles in joy. She returns his smile before Light uses his gacha to summon another overpowered tool in the abyss. May watches faithfully as Light begins building his empire fueled by the abyss infinite mana. Giant magic circles surround Light, summoning the ultimate tools for his quest for power. That was episode 1. Subscribe to not miss the next part.